Luther Vandross, the late, great Luther Vandross, he taught me a couple things about my voice. Like, you need to be in a humid environment. You shouldn't be in the desert. You shouldn't be in these dry environments. You know, your best place for your tone is going to be in a very humid environment, like in wherever, the Bahamas, Florida, you know, places that are just humid. And so I try to tell everybody that's with me, because sometimes I'll forget, humidifiers, have them on all the time. Please help me make sure I turn all the humidifiers on tonight when I go to sleep, because it really does. I breathe it in and it really does help.
But what I found really interesting was her talking about what we, and what I think, I guess its official musical terminology is the whistle register, which she is always referred to as the whisper register. And I sort of in the back of my mind knew that she always referred to it as that.
When people would first ask me about like the very high end of, you know, the upper part of my register, I was told it's called the whisper register, not the whistle, but the whisper. And I guess that's because when you use just the upper part of your chords, that's the part that comes out, and you're sort of squeezing a specific part of your chords. But I have a raspy voice. When I wake up, you hear me, I sound like this. But when I was a little girl, I would wake up and be so raspy that I'd be like, hi, how, I would talk like that, like a little squeak. And then I learned how to make that into something that became like a whistle, like you were whistling, but with your vocal cords.
But it was nice to actually hear her sort of put the two together and sort of explain sort of what her vocal doctors say is the reason that she can do that. You know, it's a result of her having vocal nodules, which I think it would be. So the way that nodules work is you've got your vocal folds, and they're like these two tiny strips of smooth like tissue, and that sort of like that, and they vibrate together as you push air through them, and that's how sound gets created. Nodules can be various shapes and sizes, but they're sort of like calluses. So imagine if you like worked with your hands loads, and you end up like, I guess maybe with gymnasts, do they
Yeah,
get that when they're on the bars?
we get calluses, and then they end up getting blisters, and they might rip. Yeah, we deal with calluses. Yeah.
So that is exactly the same as your vocal folds. They're a muscle in the same way that your body is. And if you are belting a lot and you are banging those vocal folds together, they can risk developing calluses. And what that means is they don't close and open properly they can't close all the way, so they leave gaps. And they're not as smooth as they were. And that's where that sort of raspy sound can come from. Now, as we know, she was sort of born with these. And so she's used those from a really young age. She's used those nodules to create the voice that we know and love from her. So it's through these imperfections, you know, a lot of artists that get nodules can feel like, oh God, this could potentially ruin my singing career. For her, she was born with them. Has never had them removed, but they're organic tissue. They're going to change. And so she says in the episode, you know, sometimes when the nodules are bigger, that's when the whistle register works way better.
I actually have nodules, and I've never had them removed because I was just told not to. And then my one of my vocal doctors told me that that's the reason that the high note thing is you sort of like when they're bigger, sometimes that part of my voice is stronger. It's weird. I don't know. Depends on the day.
And that's a prime example of that would be on the Emancipation of Mimi tour. You know, that the belts weren't great. They were rather raspy, but those whistle notes were absolutely incredible. And then you think back maybe to sort of maybe Daydream, like the belts were banging, but we didn't get as many whistle notes that era. So she's sort of been grappling with balancing her signature sound with how her voice is going to be changing all the time. But to hear her talk about that and sort of acknowledge that was really nice.
Absolutely. no, to hear her speak about her nodules is a rare and quite a recent thing, because I think there always has been this interpretation that, oh dear, oh, she has nodules, and a lot of people they write off their vocals or their future potential because of nodules. So I was, through hearing other people feel negatively about their own nodules or other artists, I was like, oh dear, oh crap, like, do we have to worry for MC? But she has very lightly but recently started to talk a little bit about it. Correct me if I'm wrong, she touched on this in the memoir, maybe not as much as I wanted, or was it in the memoir
Yeah,
or around the memoir?
I for me, I remember her talking. I think it was E equals MC squared era where she went on. I think it was there's an audio recording some of her saying
Right.
that. Yeah, so that's where I remember hearing it from. But I think she did speak her voice a little bit in the memoir.
But she says here, for those of you that haven't watched MasterClass, because it is expensive, so I do appreciate not every lamb in the land has had the opportunity, which is why we're here, to go through the content. She does discuss the nodules, and she has been told that they, as you say, Josh, help her with her whisper register, what I would call her whistle register. She calls it whisper. And she's been advised not to remove them. So it's there, it's part of her, but it is organic tissue, like you say. It's going to change, and she has to work with it. And I've been quite at ease with what she said, that her voice is different days, and I think it's going to be, as she led into, you already touched upon it, the humidity. How well rested or how worked am I? What is the air quality? What is the humidity? Physically, what condition are my vocal cords in? So she has to kind of find out on any given day, and there must be a given amount of stress when you are touring.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in front of an audience tonight, and the songs are what they are, and then you have to sort of knock at that door and find out what's there on that day, because she has made it hard for herself, because her songs
Oh,
are
God,
incredibly difficult to sing, and she uses all different parts of her instrument in all these different songs. So to go and try and give the best of every aspect on a stage on any given night, it's a tall feat.
it's impossible. I would say, like, a lot of the times it's near impossible for any singer to do that.